I got one last story, and the story goes like this. It was a rainy Sunday at the Pike Place Market where I was street performing. And I was grumpy on that day because I needed $300 for rent, and I knew I wasn't going to make no $300 on a rainy Sunday. And I was there the whole day. I had blisters underneath the calluses on my fingertips, and it hurt when I stopped because I'd shake my hands and blood would get in there and the pressure would build up, and then I'd say, I figured out that it only didn't hurt when I was playing, so I just kept on playing. And near the end of the day, this guy comes up. He's an Asian man, about so tall. He's coming toward me, and he's reaching in his pocket, and I'm thinking, yes, bus fare home. I mean, up until that moment, I was worried about bus fare home, let alone the $300 for rent. And he's reaching in his pocket. Instead of pulling out a dollar bill, though, he pulls out a Christian tract. There are these flimsy pieces of paper that give you the 4 steps to salvation. And he was about to put that in my empty violin case when I told him in very non-Christian terms, I told him, I don't need no Christian tract in my case. What I need is $300 for rent. You got that in your pocket? Yeah, I did the head thing. You got that in your pocket? And then he said, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. And I said, well, you did. Those Christian tracts are all stacked up on my windowsill at home. I'm going to see which denomination's going to win at the end of the year. And he said, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I know, I'll tip you if you play Amazing Grace for me. And I said, oh, great, typical Christian, turning it back on me. You know, you just, oh, see, I was on the edge. And then he said, no, really, it's okay. If I'll tip you if you play Amazing Grace. And then I said, well, okay, I'll play it so bad and out of tune you won't even be able to tell that it is Amazing Grace. And then you got to tip me because you're a Christian. You got to be a man of your word. And he said, that's not fair. I got to be able to tell that it's Amazing Grace. And I said, all right. I'll play it so bad and out of tune, you'll just barely tell that it is Amazing Grace, and then you got to tip me because you're a Christian. You got to be a man of your word. And he said, fair enough. And I was like, really? All right. So I started playing Amazing Grace. I don't know if you know how bad I can play, but I was playing bad. I was playing so bad and out of tune, you could just barely tell it was Amazing Grace. And then an interesting thing happened around the 3rd verse. My fingers started to play the right notes. And I was thinking to my fingers, hey, fingers, play the wrong notes. But no, they just kept playing the right notes. And I was like, all right, I'll just play it right a couple times. Maybe he'll give me a bigger tip or something, right? So I was playing the song. I'm closing my eyes and I'm listening to the song, and then I start to hear the words. Not with my ears, but inside. I could hear the words to the song, and then I noticed that I had a drip coming out of my eye. And I was like, hey, this is not like when I cry, because usually when I cry, I make a really ugly face. I'm a man, right? So I make a really ugly face so I can get lots of attention. And this wasn't that kind of a cry. It wasn't like, I don't want to take out the garbage. It wasn't anything like that. It was just this tear falling down my cheek. I finished the song. I opened my eyes. There's a big crowd of people standing around, about this size, actually. My Christian friend, this time he reaches in his pocket. He pulls out $1 bill, and he says to everybody standing there, this guy needs $300 for rent, and he put that in my empty violin case. I was overwhelmed. Everybody there was overwhelmed that he would do that. As they were coming close to confirm the story, he was moving his way through the crowd. I didn't get a chance to say anything. I couldn't say anything. I had an apple in my throat. It was just a big, huge lump. But they would ask me things like something street performers don't hardly ever hear. They'd say things like, do you accept checks? And I was like, yeah. And then they'd say things like, where's the nearest ATM machine? I was so overwhelmed. I mean, I'm a street performer, and they're asking me questions like that. And then so next thing you know, my case is full. And not only did I have enough for rent that day, I had enough to produce my first CD, A Little Boat in the Big River. Now, why am I telling you this story? I don't know. I don't know what this story means to you. I know that what it's come to mean to me is trying to pray is praying. sometimes just going through the motions is enough. I don't need to understand what God is. I don't need to understand perfect theology. I don't need anything other than here, just what I desire. The gift of God is my desire. Deo, Sire, the gift of God is our desire. It's not that God gives me everything I want. It's that from my desire, from what I desire, God fulfills. The actions I take, the choices I make from the desires in my heart are a gift from God. This is my version of Amazing Grace. As I pray this for you, I offer, do your best. Pray it's blessed, and let the great Spirit of love take care of the rest.